Hey everybody, and welcome back to another max velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be going over the massive Arctic blast that is coming towards the United States that will last potentially for weeks to come. It'll bring an early feeling to winter. We're also watching the potential for some snow as far south as areas like Texas and Oklahoma. And we're only in November, so we'll have to watch this system pretty closely. More details on that for you in this forecast, as well as more winter snow that could be coming to areas in the northern plains and all the way back through New England and the Northeast. Let's first begin though with what's happening across the United States today. Beginning with the eastern side of the United States, we currently have ongoing tropical depression Dakota. This will continue to race off to the northeast. It is moving fairly quickly. It will bring the potential for some isolated flash flooding throughout the day today, and also might bring an isolated tornado or two to areas back through the mid-Atlantic region. So just be mindful of that. On the other hand, we have a cold front that is very strong that has now moved through areas like North Texas, and those areas are already beginning to feel the impacts of this Arctic blast that is going to again last for several days, if not potentially over a week across the United States. Watches and warnings as of now. We do have a tornado watch as I'm recording this for areas back over the mid-Atlantic regions. A couple of tornadoes are possible with tropical depression Nicole. Winter weather advisory still ongoing back up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. That snowfall will start to move out of those areas throughout the day today, but still some isolated flurries or light snow is possible with the remnants of that winter storm. And then we still have ongoing freeze warnings in effect for areas throughout a large area of Texas and as well as Oklahoma, so be mindful of that. Again, there's definitely a possibility for temperatures to dive below 32 degrees for the first time this year in those regions. And over the next 6 to 10 days, the Climate Prediction Center has made it very clear that we'll most likely have below average temperatures from Wednesday up until next Sunday. There is a very well-defined area here across the United States that will likely see below average temperatures, so bundle up, get your jacket out. Again, it's going to be cold over the next several days. And the European model on the temperature anomalies, enjoy the warm weather while it lasts on the East Coast, because this will be the last of it most likely for weeks to come. As of now, going into Saturday, will be above average, but again, below average temperatures and even potentially some record-breaking temperatures are not out of the question with this very big cold blast that will be arriving this week into the East Coast and has already arrived to a large portion of the United States. Going into next week, by Monday into Tuesday, we'll have a couple of rounds of this. We're going to have another potential cold blast going into next week sometime around Tuesday or Wednesday. That'll also bring much cooler weather here to the United States. By Thursday and Friday, another cold blast will arrive. Again, the potential for record-breaking temperatures back in the northern plains is actually going to be possible then. And then going into the following weekend, we'll still have a lot of cold air, maybe even another cold blast back over in the Midwest. So again, it's going to be a very active week in terms of cold weather. There's not a whole lot of warm weather to talk about other than just the next, really 48 to 72 hours, again, on the East Coast. So over the next several days, Nicole will move off to the Northeast. We'll have some scattered flurries and maybe some light snow back up in the Great Lakes. On the other hand, a couple of storms, maybe even a little bit of light snow associated with a little system that'll move to the northeast through areas from Texas back through about Kentucky. Snow accumulation is going to be very minimal with that. But by next week, we have a lot more to talk about because we'll have another potential trough develop down in the southern plains. This could bring some snow to areas like the Panhandle of Texas, maybe even as far south as extreme North Texas and as well as Oklahoma. So I'll give you more details on that here in just a moment. We're still a little bit far out, but definitely a system to watch. And then by mid next week, more snow will start to go into areas like the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. We could even see a little snowstorm back up in New England, but it is pretty far from now, but definitely something to watch for in the long term. Temperatures over the next several days, it is going to be cold across the United States. Just giving you an idea of what to expect. Again, we'll see below freezing temperatures, especially across the Dakotas. Those areas are going to be below freezing almost all week next week, and eventually going into next week. And again, we're still going to be talking about cold weather. The warmest place in the United States will be southern Arizona and Florida, and obviously even those areas still only in the 70s pretty much for the high temperatures, maybe a little bit of low 80s as well. Wind chills, by the way, this is our featured area for this forecast, is North Dakota. It is quite remarkable what we're going to see over North Dakota here over the next several days. Wind chills will be, for the most part, below zero almost the entire week, so this will be an area to watch very closely for wind chills, again, being below zero. And obviously going to potentially late next week, it might get a little bit warmer, but temperatures will be feeling below zero for almost the entire upcoming week. So if you're in North Dakota, I do feel bad for you. It's gonna be very cold next week for sure. Make sure you're bundled up. On the other hand, as I mentioned before, there is that potential for maybe some wintry weather heading into maybe this upcoming Monday across the southern plains. The areas that I might see maybe some sleet or even some snow would primarily be in this region here. That could even go as far south as North Texas. It is fairly rare for this time of the year to see snow that far down to the south, so I don't expect really any snow, at least in North Texas, but potentially in Oklahoma, it's not out of the question. And snowfall totals at least being estimated for right now between maybe a coating upwards of a few inches back over in the Panhandle. Things will change though as we get closer. This may even shift a bit further east or even a slightly further south is not out of the question. So I'll have more details on that for you here later. And as well, we have that other system. That system will eventually move up into New England. So heading into this upcoming week, a couple of flurries, maybe a couple of snow showers over in New York. But again, a potential for maybe a little winter storm does exist, maybe going to mid to late next week across areas like the Northeast and New England. So we'll keep you updated with the latest on that. Make sure to like button down below, subscribe if you're not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.